Hello, my name is Andrea, and I would like to tell you about my experience with demon possession and working with the dimensions. I'll start my story by telling you basically how I first got introduced to dimensional beings. When I was in matric and my high school years, I had quite a strange sixth sense of humor all my life about religion and people and the world, to the point where everybody around me believed in God and Christianity and things like that, and I was always looking at it from the perspective of, why do you people believe in religion if can you not see what's going on in this world? And through my younger years, I was an extremely angry teenage kid and basically looked at life from a very cynical perspective. So by the time I left school, this is basically where it starts, I met a Wiccan, and he explained to me how Wiccanism works. And I listened to all of this, and I said to myself, now this makes sense from the perspective of, you worship yourself, and you believe that you are in charge of your life, and you take care of yourself. And I believed in the idea of, at that stage, gods and goddesses and raising energy and casting spells. So he taught me everything that he knew about Wiccanism. And with that, he introduced me to the Ouija board. Now, the Ouija board is very interesting from the perspective of, neither one of us had any fear. I went into it head on, and I saw this Ouija board and what you could do with it, and I found it absolutely fascinating. The first time in my life it made sense to me that you can actually speak to dead people that come through and speak to you about the fact that there is no God and you're on your own when you die, and that this world is the way it is because of the way that people are in this world. So we had an absolute blast on the Ouija board. We would basically get together every night, and we would raise energy and work with Wiccanism and all of that, and then we would speak to beings on the Ouija board. Now, the interesting thing about it is, because we were Wiccans, we believed strongly that we could control the beings that came through the board. So say, for example, we believed in Isis and Diana and Thor and all these pagan and Wiccan gods and goddesses. So we would start an evening playing on the Ouija board, and we would invite anybody coming through the board. You know, like most youngsters that play on the Ouija board, they do exactly that. You call through the first spirit and you ask the being's name, and the being will say, I'm so-and-so, and you ask them, where are you from, what are you doing here, all of that. This we did for quite a couple of years, and what was interesting about my experiences on the Ouija board, which a lot of people experienced but they didn't realize what was actually happening, was that when you are speaking to beings that come through the board, they're not there because you invited them to be there, and they don't leave at the end because you're asking them very nicely to go. They are beings that arrive, one would call demons, because they are beings that at that stage were in a certain mindset. They passed over, here you are, you're dead, and there's nothing else for you to do, so you're just this being that floats around, and you look for human beings to speak to. And that's exactly what beings do that speak to people through the Ouija board. You find two innocent people sitting there. You work from a perspective of, you're a being that you require a specific energetic to keep you going, and that is why you will find the people that speak through Ouija boards to beings, and you will target those specific beings. So what did my friend and myself do? We raised energy all day. We were Wiccans, so that was ideal for these beings. They would come through plenty, and they would talk to us, a lot of them very angry, a lot of them would tell us about their experiences of how they died, how they find being in the dimensions, what they thought about God, what they thought about religion. And what would happen more often than not is, at the end of the evening, if you said to one of these beings, thank you that was fun. You can leave now. The being looks at you and goes, make me. We would more often than not, at the end of the evening, actually sit with beings that would then start saying to us, I'm here to stay now, and I'm going to have fun with you. Situations like that, where we would, in the end, say to Diana and Isis, oh, please, you've got to help us now. We are in a spot of trouble here. This being won't leave. Now, unbeknown to us at that stage, there was no Diana or Isis or Thor taking care of us. We were on our own. And night after night, these beings would remain and they would say, I'm going to play with you now. And I would go home and my friend, he would stay at his house, and I would go home, and so often we would actually, one of these beings would follow me home, and I'd wake up in the middle of the night with this being sitting on my bed, looking at me, saying, I'm still here, and I still want to talk to you. And 9 times out of 10, I would wake up in the middle of the night with an actual energetic hand around my neck, and the being would say to me, you want to play? Do you want to play? Okay, we'll play now. And you would basically lie there and you would be going, somebody help me now, and no help would arrive. And the interesting thing is, once you finally convince the being to leave, or the being left on their own, they played with you for a bit. Then the next day you go on the Ouija board, and we would talk to Diana and Isis, and they would say to us, no, we were training you to become high priests and high priestess. So we had to allow these beings, these demons, to attack you throughout the night so that you would stand up to them. We found this very interesting. Now, from the perspective of who the beings were that we were communicating with on the board, I will get to a later stage. But from this perspective, we basically communicated with a being that was calling themselves Diana and Isis. There was always the one being that was basically playing the role of each of these wiccan beings. And this being would then say to us the next day, no, we were preparing you, and we had to allow you to get attacked so that you would stand up. So, I will continue with the rest of the story in my next interview. Thank you.